This past week, I found myself in the middle of a very divisive political conversation. I am not here to talk about politics, but I am here to talk about the nature of the conversation. You probably know that I am from Ohio, but what you may not know is that I am from Springfield, Ohio. You know, I understand from the sound in the room, a town that is stuck in the crossroads of a heated political discussion around immigration. The tone of this conversation that I have witnessed during the past few weeks has left me feeling sick to my stomach, to be quite honest. The conversation has gone beyond simply talking about a recent wave of Haitian immigration, immigrants fleeing their homeland. It has gone beyond engaging in discourse about immigration policies or their effect on U.S. citizens or those seeking asylum. What this nation has been talking about is whether or not Haitian immigrants have been eating the town's pets. Even further, this public conversation has been taking place most loudly on social media, where inciting, outlandish, exaggerated memes, photos, and videos have been created to escalate falsehoods. Public figures and citizens have been spreading these posts as if they are funny. They are not funny. As of this week, a neo-Nazi group and 33 bomb threats have come in to Springfield City Hall, several schools, 2 hospitals, and even the DMV. Clearly, a conversation about the well-being of Springfield and its immigrants is important, but this is not how it should be going. And just a week ago, we saw words turn into violence right here in Newton, where a few pro-Israel supporters stood on a street corner waving Israeli flags. From across the street, another resident began yelling, accusing Israel of genocide, charging across the street at the Israel supporters. It was not a conversation. It was not civil. And very quickly, these exchange of words turned into a violent physical fight. So much so that the attacked demonstrator drew a gun, fired it, and nearly took the life of the one who came at him. When it comes to peaceful protest and productive exchange of dialogue, this is not it. While exercising one's right to free speech, no one should feel the need for self-defense. It shouldn't have gotten to this point. The way we talk about things matters, even if we are at odds, especially if we disagree. In this week's Torah portion, Ki Tavo from Deuteronomy, chapter 26, we hear one of the most famous verses in the Haggadah. When we sit around the Passover table, we read the words, "My father was a wandering Aramaean." When we tell our story of freedom, we start here. The Hebrew reads, Arami Oved Avi. And the words Arami, Aramaean, a person from the territory of Aram in modern-day Syria, and the word Avi, my father, are easily translated. But the meaning of Oved is ambiguous here. For Oved can mean to lose or to be lost, but it can also mean to perish or destroy. Our JPS translation suggests the Oved to be a fugitive, but Jewish commentaries preserve a few other possible and contradictory renderings. On one hand, the Arami is identified as a wanderer, likened to Abraham and Sarah, the patriarchs and matriarchs of the Jewish people. They are the pioneers, the Ivrim, the immigrants who left home to answer God's call. On the other hand, the Arami is seen as the one who is sought to destroy our father. In contradiction to our first example, the Aramaean here is an enemy of our people. Rashi, one of our most famous commentators, even identifies this enemy as Lavan, the Aramaean, who denied Jacob his betrothal to Rachel, kept him an indentured servant for years, and pursued him across the border when Jacob tried to flee. Thus, our tradition presents us with two options for the one person who set our people's migration story into motion. To some people, the Arami, Oved Avi, means our father is a wandering Aramaean, and to others, it might mean a foreigner set to destroy our people. 3 words, 2 completely different and conflicting understandings. What you may not know is the context in which these words are recited out loud. Our Haggadah even fails to include the background or the verses preceding the recitation of these words. So here's what's going on. The book of Deuteronomy is giving us instructions for when we have entered, inherited, and established ourselves in the promised land. We are not just to settle in the land and do whatever we want. We are, as chapter 26 reads, to enter the land that God gives you, and when you possess it and settle in it, take some of every first fruit of the soil which you harvest from God's land, put it in a basket, and go to the priest and say to him, I acknowledge this day that I have entered the land that God gave us. When the priest takes the basket and sets it down on the altar before God, the Israelite is commanded to say at that point, Arami Oved Avi. What follows is a retelling of our redemption story, our ancestors' plight down to Egypt, to slavery and oppression, an answered call to God who saved us with a mighty hand, freed us and brought us to this place, a land flowing with milk and honey. Wherefore, chapter 26 continues, this is the spirit in which I bring the first fruits of the soil which God gives me. I shall leave this gift here and bow low to God. We say these 3 words no matter what we think they might mean, whether they refer to our father or to our enemy. We say these words with grace, gratitude, humility, and the understanding that we come as messengers of God. The way we talk about opposing things matters. The way we express our passions, our fears, convictions, or frustrations matter. The way we share facts or our opinions matter. What we post on social media matters. How we disagree, even with the neighbor across the aisle, the person across the country in Springfield, Ohio, across the internet, or across the street in Newton matters. Unfortunately, in our towns and in our nation, we seem to have gone past the point of gracious, peaceful conversation. And so here at TBE, we are offering a workshop at this difficult time, especially as we approach the anniversary of October 7th and Election Day. So we want to invite you to join us on Sunday, September 29th at 6 p.m. to learn how to be a safe and effective upstander who can identify when a situation or a conversation requires de-escalation. Instead of resorting to name-calling, intimidation, yelling, or screaming, imagine approaching a difficult conversation, carrying a gift basket of fruits in your hand. Imagine putting it at the other's feet, bowing low and waiting for a response. Imagine asking curious questions and then listening without interruption. If we speak to each other this way, we will have no reason to raise our voices or our fists or our weapons. We will have no reason to raise false narratives or post hurtful pictures. Of course, the same standard should be held for both people or both groups having the conversation. This week, I joined my colleague and our teacher, Rabbi Moshe Blech, rabbi of the Wellesley Weston Chabad, in town to discuss a challenging matter important to the Jewish community. Before we began with our business, Rabbi Blech said, "Am I correct in making the assumption that we have all come here in peace?" And so I ask of you, in the spirit of Shabbat's Ki Tavo, that you begin every difficult conversation with a peace offering. As it is written in the Kabbalistic words of Shalom Aleichem, Boechem l'Shalom, come in peace. And having done so, Tzetechem l'Shalom, may you go in peace as well. Shabbat Shalom.
Koach, Rabbi. We have words at the end of our tefillah that say Elohai Nitzor Lashoni Mera, and include words that ask that God, and I think in this case others, accept the words of our mouth and the meditations of our hearts. Elohai Nitzor Lashoni Mera Usvatai Midaber Mirma Vilim Kalalai Nafshi Tidom Venafshi Ka'afar Lakol Tihiyeh Elohai 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 Netzor Leshoni Mera Usfatai Mitaber Mirma Vilim Kalalai Nafshi Tidom Venafshi Ka'afar Lakol Tihiyeh Elohai Elohai, Elohai Netzor Leshoni Mera Usfatai Midaber Mirma Vilim Kalalai Nafshi Tidom Venafshi Ke'afar Lakol Tihiyeh Elohai Elohai B'tach libi B'tach libi B'tach libi B'toratecha Nitzor Leshoni Mera Usfatai Midaber Mirma Vilim Kalalai Nafshi Tidom Venafshi Ka'afar Lakol Tihiyeh Elohai Elohai Yiyu Leratzoni Mreifi Ve'egyon Libi Lefanecha Adonai Adonai